Okay. Good morning, Chastity. Welcome again to Women in Olive Oil, one of our topic calls, which we lead once a month. We have a topic call, and this month we are talking. Chastity is going to be talking about building community through olive oil and wellness. And we are so grateful to have you join us today, Chastity, and share your story with all of our members and the industry in the olive oil industry about what brought you to olive oil, your passion, your just everything that makes you who you are and the work you're doing for the industry. And so just start away. We're so happy to have you.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad to be here, and thank you so much for thinking about me and finding my journey and my story and relevant and important, for you to want to hear about it. So, um, I want to say good morning and maybe good afternoon and maybe good evening to everyone who will be listening to this message. But again, my name is Chastity Pritchett, and I am the founder of Emblem Olive Oil and the Let's Fight Back Foundation. I think today I'm excited to share not only my journey into the world of extra virgin olive oil, but also the deeper purpose behind the work that I do. My path into this industry did not begin from tradition or generational connections. It really began from a desire to help people live healthier lives and better understand the connection between food, as Jill mentioned, also wellness and really healing. So over the years, I've approached olive oil a little bit differently. For me, it has never been about just selling a product. It has always been about the education, preventive, community, and helping people make healthier choices throughout their everyday living. So in this discussion, I'll be sharing how I built a purpose-driven olive oil company, maybe why I focus so heavily on health and wellness education, and how I became a tool for advocacy and connection and impact. So my hope is that by the end of this conversation, you will walk into a new perspective and the power of building a business rooted in purpose. And I think I'm going to be saying that word a lot, purpose, purpose. So I also hope you leave inspired to think differently about how small and intentional choices can create lasting change within our communities and also within ourselves. So thank you all for being here, and I look forward to this conversation. I think while having the idea of starting Emblem, I was reading articles and hearing different conversations about olive oil. There was a major focus on this fake olive oil, and naturally, that made me enter the industry wanting to prioritize quality, realness above everything else. But at this, at, but at but as time went on, I continued researching and learning and studying and the industry and diving deeply in it. And I realized that the conversation about fake olive oil was a nuance like than I originally thought. And that research and industry understanding has evolved over time. What stayed consistent for me was not a fear-based marketing or trying to criticize other brands, but it was the desire to educate consumers so they could better understand quality and freshness and sourcing and even production methods and what they are personally looking for in an olive oil. So I never wanted to build my company off confusion or negativity. I wanted to build it around knowledge and trust and helping people feel more connected to what they consume, what they're eating. So, one thing I quickly realized when speaking with consumers, especially within the Black community, and just among people who didn't grow up around the olive oil culture. This is a real thing, y'all.
Mm.
Was that many people like immediately viewed olive oil as something distant and from their everyday lives. Like some would say olive oil was something fancy or something only wealthy people use or something that was more connected to other cultures and lifestyles. And honestly, I understood that perspective because many of us grew up cooking with what was familiar, what was accessible, what was affordable, and just deeply rooted in our own family tradition. So in many households, food traditions was built around survival. It was built around comfort and culture and finding ways to feed large families with what was available. And instead of focusing on changing people's perspective, I focus on helping people better understand olive oil and why extra virgin olive oil costs what it costs. I wanted consumers to learn about harvesting and sourcing and quality and even the labor that's involved in producing olive oil. Because once people understood the value, I think the conversation changes. I learned that you do not always have to change people's minds. Sometimes you simply just have to educate them well enough so that they can make informed decisions for themselves. That mindset that I had, it really became part of my business philosophy. Education, transparency, and honesty have always been important to me than simply just trying to sell a product. And I believe consumers respect that.
Absolutely.
I mean, I came into this olive oil industry differently, as I said. I didn't grow up in the business.
Mhm.
I'm probably the first entrepreneur in my family. I didn't come from a family of producers or traditional connections and resources, as I stated before. But early on, I understood that everyone has their own lane. And I always say I'm not in one lane. Don't put me in one lane, but I'm there.
Mm.
And so passion and perspective became a part of me. And I realized I didn't have to compete with anyone else because what God really placed inside of me was already unique.
Mm.
So from the beginning, I never wanted, like I said, my confidence came from purpose and it came and not from competition. And I believe that if I stayed aligned with my purpose, kept God first, and focused on serving people, I would naturally stand out. It was really effortless.
Mm.
So, a big part of my business is how I communicate with my customers. If you follow Emblem or if you are a part of our insider community, which is my marketing email campaigns, you'll notice that everything is not always centered around buy my product. That was never and has never been my approach. But of course, I share olive oils, I share recipes galore, but my focus has always been bigger than selling. And I can't emphasize that even more. But I wanted to build a genuine connection with people through my email marketing community because that is an easy way to just reach people because you can't be everywhere. So I provide research. I talk about wellness. I also do educational content. Whatever article is out there about olive oil and is trusted, I will actually send them the link to the actual article. Sometimes in my emails, you may not even see a bottle of Emblem olive oil, and at all because my goal is not to constantly push product in front of my people or in front of the people. I shouldn't say my people, but
Mhm.
in front of the people.
You can be your people. Oh
but my
my. Yeah, that's so good.
Uh, but my focus is
Mhm.
on creating value first.
Right.
I believe consumers can feel when something is authentic,
Right.
and people connect more deeply when they know you are genuinely trying to educate them rather than simply sell them a
Right.
product.
Right.
And I also think and believe that transparency builds trust. It creates a relationship where people feel connected,
Mhm.
informed, and respected instead of feeling like they are constantly being marketed to.
Right.
My customers, I know sometimes if I can relate a name to how many bottles or what they purchase, if they come back around and DM me, I remember like, hey, didn't you buy, Italian herbs or roasted garlic? And they're like, wow, how did you know that?
That's so
I mean,
cool.
and that's just and they were and I mean,
Mhm.
one customer was like, yeah, and I want to go and buy something else, and this is just in a DM. So responding and kind of building that
Yeah.
one-on-one connection with your customer, it works. And so
Mm.
that same person that was in my DM had already bought like 4 bottles. Once I made that connection through the DM, her name was it was unique, so that I
Mhm.
remembered it, and she was like, "You remember me?" And she went back that same day and bought more bottles of olive oil.
Wow.
So, for me, that's what long-term community building looks like.
Mhm.
We got to recognize our customers and really just make it like that homegirl to homegirl type of feeling.
Right. And
Um,
and so much care in that, Chastity. So much care for your clients, you know?
yeah,
And just that makes all the difference. They
yeah,
trust you.
yes. I treat every customer as if it's my first order.
Right. Right.
It's really it's about that trust and
Mhm.
education and connecting and help people. And just the bottom line is I'm here to, helping people live healthier and more intentional lives. So,
Mhm.
and I truly believe like olive oil cannot be separated from its original purpose. Before any of us were formed, olive
Mhm.
oil was already here.
Right.
Throughout history and scripture, olive oil was represented as healing and anointed and restoration and peace. And in the Holy Bible, olives and olive oil are mentioned so many times,
Mhm.
often connected to God's provision, worship, and healing. And from anointing the kings and priests to the lamps that carry
Mhm.
light, and olive oil was never viewed as ordinary. This is
Wow.
not a ordinary product. And so this olive oil, it has value, it's
Mm.
sacred, and it's purposeful. And that perspective really shaped my approach in this industry. I
Mm.
never want to hide my faith. I always want to show up integrity. I always want to show up and try to show up on time. That's just the
Mm.
way that you move as owning whatever business that you may have. But
Right.
for me, the business could never be built on just the money. The money will come, everybody. The money will come. But when your product is connected to something that carries so much biblical and historical significance, it changes how you see it. Olive oil was used in homes and, like I said, the healing practices and the symbols of God blessings and restoration.
Mm.
That is exactly what he offers us. And
Mm.
especially, having an olive oil company. We should be living as what the olive oil symbolizes.
That's so beautiful. And so inspiring, Chastity.
Yeah.
So growing up, did you grow up in Chesapeake, Virginia?
No, I grew up in Macon, Georgia. I'm a
Georgia, you said that the other day. Okay.
yeah.
And they are growing some olive oil in Georgia.
Yeah.
But in Chesapeake, Virginia, and I live in Virginia also, we don't grow olives here.
Right,
So,
right.
so what made you, was it back in 2019? Was it when you kind of went the olive oil path?
Yeah, yeah.
What was that first? Do you remember the first initial like light bulb moment or this is my purpose, this is my calling, this is where I want to, take this? Do you remember why?
No, I don't remember like I didn't, I mean, I had no idea I would be here still today, Jill,
Wow.
like
Yeah.
with this olive oil. I was still working in human
Yeah.
resources.
Mhm.
I had no idea that I would get laid off from my job and I still had the olive oil. And I'm like, well, God, we in this thing together full time.
Mhm.
I just knew I loved talking about olive oil. I knew I wanted to get all the knowledge that I possibly could and to share it.
Mhm.
Not just
Mhm.
for me to hold it in, but to
Yeah.
share it. And so, it just grew from there. It really
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. And I love that about olive oil. So many women I've met, we just light up when we talk about it. It's so, so exciting and passionate, and we feel so passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to share this, Chastity, but I think it was your grandfather who had health issues, or you kind of dedicated the Let's
Yeah,
Fight Back. I just was
yeah,
at one of your conferences, and that was such a beautiful, um,
yeah,
you just dedicated
yeah,
some of that purpose to the health side of it to some
yeah.
family member.
Yeah, my granddaddy, which was we had no idea that even he was unhealthy
Yeah.
when he passed away. We did not know like what is going on.
Mhm.
I would send my grandparents gallons of olive oil, and
Wow.
my grandmother started cooking with
Mhm.
olive oil every day, and she's 85 and is doing just amazing. But my grandfather, he was with me when I started the business, and he was like, Precious, that's what my nickname
Mhm.
is. Like, what are you doing? You're leaving corporate to do an olive oil. Like that sounded so crazy to him,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But in that moment, I shipped bottles to him, and he pulled out the bottle and he saw my face and the name, and he just lit up.
Mhm.
And I wrote him a note, and I was like, I was like, Dad, I'm gonna like be a millionaire with this olive oil. Not even, I'm just talking, because I'm like, I had no idea
So fantastic.
any of this. So yeah, so my granddad, he always believed in me and my
Yeah.
crazy ideas, and we
Mhm.
always just talked about health, and he would do whatever I say when it came
Mhm.
to health. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, or maybe even God has other plans, and
Sure.
so he passed away from like a blockage in his heart,
Oh,
unknowing, we didn't
mhm.
know. So I dedicated that award to him. And yeah,
That's
so
so powerful. And in the Let's Fight Back, your nonprofit that you started, you mentioned you on Sunday evenings you do a supper gathering or a,
yeah,
talk a little bit about that and um, how you've influenced just some of your more traditional recipes and the communities that you work with olive oil. How do you make that fun for, and inspiring and
yeah.
exciting? So,
It's all of that. So
yeah,
yeah, so I have a 12-week program
yes.
where I take anybody. You can have chronic illnesses, or you can not want to have them. You can want to take different measures to not have any illnesses. You join the program for 12 weeks.
Mhm.
We show up every Sunday. We go over scripture. We just remind each other like the promises that God has already said over our
Mm.
lives. We talk about the mental health side, and we relate it all to the Bible. And we start off in prayer, and I take recipes from how the participants grew up,
Okay.
and I adapt it to the Mediterranean diet.
Amazing.
And so I tell them, I promise them, and I know this is very bold, but if I
Hmm.
didn't trust in God and God didn't place this on my heart, I probably wouldn't be doing any of this, Jill.
Hmm.
Taking the
Hmm.
time out to meet and to develop these recipes, it's a lot, but that's I'm called to do, and I do it. But I take these recipes, and for 12 weeks I tell them what to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I tell them, after, if you complete this program, you will see a difference physically and mentally.
Hmm.
And I said the goal is to get you off of medication.
Wow.
And so within 4 days, people blood pressure is normal.
Right.
Ladies have come off of insulin.
Hmm.
People have lost weight. Menopause symptoms
Hmm.
are no longer there. Those heat flashes,
Hmm.
and so I have just seen it when you do the work. You can just you can just have that mindset to want to change
Hmm.
and do a little bit, and really God will help you finish the rest. And so people are just, they come back time and time again after this program is over with, because I don't know if they just love the community,
Hmm.
or they love being able to have the support,
Right.
that they
Right.
have, that they don't get sometimes in the doctor's office.
Sure.
I have a health and wellness coach that is also my assistant and can guide them one on one if that's what they would like.
Yes.
Yes, we exercise together. Like the
That's
second
awesome.
week, we introduce movement. We don't do it
Mm.
the first week because people are trying to change
Sure.
eating habits. So, yeah, we take it slow, and it's just really been a blessing for me, especially, but I know also for the participants.
It's so, so amazing that work. And another question I would like to ask you, when do you remember tasting olive oil for the first time? And what did you think?
The first time I probably, well, I can't even count the times I didn't know anything about olive oil. Well,
Okay.
actually, I didn't know anything. Even when I was searching for different olive oils that
Hmm.
I was going to use, the supplier,
Hmm.
I was able to taste different olive oils, and I really didn't understand what I was really tasting. I
Hmm.
just liked a certain taste in my, like, what would go pair well with this, things that I normally cook in the kitchen. So ever since then, I have just been I just love tasting olive oils, and I
Hmm.
love kind of like going in restaurants and saying, do you have olive oil? Is it blended oil? What is it? And not to be snooty, but I'm like, in my
Sure.
mind, I taste it and I'm like, this is not either olive oil or it's rancid or it's got, so I love all of that. I
Mhm.
love the taste of just trying different oils
Yeah,
from all over the world, because you get a unique taste
you really
with
do.
every oil.
You
Yeah.
really do. So, and are you stock? Do you supply some stores, Chastity, in your area with olive oil, or how do you?
Yes.
Okay.
I have one area, actually the Chrysler Museum, that
Uh-huh.
carries Emblem Olive Oil. And so all my local customers can get it there.
That's great.
So yeah. So
Hmm.
that's the only place for now.
Hmm. And
But it
then
will.
do you do online sales?
Oh yeah,
Is
I
that
do
okay?
online. My website, and I'm also on Amazon,
Okay.
which is really a big hit.
Hmm.
It does well on Amazon, and so yeah.
That's so great. And do you want us to tell us a little bit about your producers and how you found them and the challenges with that, or quality and quantity, and how that road has been for you?
My producers came to me
Oh, wow. It's
in
fantastic.
2020.
Fantastic.
I wasn't even thinking about a manufacturer. I wasn't even thinking about, I'm like, well, I'm working with this one producer, but they haven't, suggested about, you know, um, totally taking over my operations.
Hmm.
But my producers came and they said, we see how hard you're working. Let's, work together, and we can take out, you don't have to ship in your house anymore,
Right. Right.
so they ended up, and these producers are in Texas,
Okay.
and they end up taking over my entire production.
Okay.
The olive oil, in Texas, they like to say it's a gourmet olive oil. Because of the climate or
Mhm.
whatever the reason is, but they are so focused on the quality of the olive oil. And so I'm very thankful for them. We
Mhm.
communicate every single day. Any
Mhm.
supplier issues, I mean, they make a way, and I mean,
It's
they just
wonderful.
make it happen. And so I'm very grateful for that. And so
Mm.
yeah.
Mm, that's so exciting. Um, what about your work in the government with olive oil? I know you've done a lot of work with the government and different entities. So,
Yeah. Starting out, I always wanted to feed America with olive oil.
mm,
And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I went to speak to different delegates.
mhm,
I was so young in the stage. I just was like, you know what? I probably wasn't even ready
mhm.
at the time, but the seed was already planted. So I end up like emailing. I would send blind emails, just email whoever I thought could help me. First, I started at the local level, emailing the education system,
Mhm.
and then I said, you know what, I'm gonna have to just go further. I'd email somebody from the USDA. So long story short, they came. One of those emails was a hit. They came back and they said they're working on this program with Native Americans, and they want to have extra virgin olive oil as one of their source resources for the Native Americans to get healthier, because the
Oh,
government knows that olive oil is will help you be healthier
mhm,
if you have
mhm,
these chronic illnesses.
mhm.
And so I kind of helped with the solicitation and wanted to make sure that testing was done accurately, that they were doing it the right way.
Wow.
And even throughout the process, they always said, well, we're not going to guarantee that you're going to get this bid. And I already knew that. But
Mhm,
my
mhm.
focus was making sure that the government knew what a extra virgin really looked like, the chemical side of it, making sure, they had accurate testing and, all of the percentage of the acidity and all these things, that go into a good olive oil. And
Mhm.
so I kind of guided them with that. Then the solicitation came out and I bid on it, of course, But the thing is, I think what helped is that my olive oil was made here in the US. And so they
Makes
were
such
really
yeah.
I mean, they wanted you if they're, they wanted US olive oil.
Mhm,
And I got the bid, not even having the money
mhm.
to supply 30 plus thousand gallons of olive oil. So that took bottles. And
Mhm.
that's another thing. I told them it has to be in glass bottles. So
Good
now
for you.
yeah, even if it's not my olive oil, they understand like
Yeah,
glass bottles. So that's what they use. And
yeah.
so I end up winning the bid. And
Amazing.
not only did this help me, but this helped my producers.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, this helped the people working and
Absolutely.
so it was a win-win for everyone around that was attached
Mm.
to Emblem Olive Oil. And
Wow.
thankfully, thank you, Jesus, I was able
Mhm.
to borrow the upfront money
Good.
for this project.
It's a
And
huge project. Yeah.
yes, oh my God. And I was able to give the money back in like
Mm.
3 weeks. I
Amazing.
have no idea who this person was. I still haven't met them to this day that loaned my one of my producers the money for me. So
Wow.
I think if you show up, my producers didn't have to do what they did for
Mhm.
me.
Right.
And I'm just so thankful for them. But yeah, so now, I work with the government as far as supplying olive oil to Native Americans. But Jill, not just Native Americans, we have
Mm.
other people here in the US that also needs olive oil. So
Right.
I'm trying to work with SNAP. I'm trying to
Mm,
work so
good.
it can be associated as a needed product.
Yeah,
Yeah.
foundational part of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
grocery list,
Right.
the
Right.
kitchen. And Chastity, you've mentioned hearing such amazing feedback from some of these that you've helped, getting emails or,
Yeah.
just
Oh
how
yeah.
grateful they are.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
yeah, yeah. Did you want me to go into that, or are you just making me?
Well, you mentioned it the other day, and it's so moving and how I think when you're so aligned with your purpose and um, your gifts and offering and with authenticity and people trust in it and good comes from that, right? I mean, just
Yeah,
that's how
yeah,
you're living and you're living your life and in your business and it's just
yeah.
showing. It's just beautiful to witness. So,
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I got an email from someone on those reservations, and he was telling me that his dad was not doing good and
mhm,
he was gonna have surgery and he ended up passing out before the surgery. And when he passed out this time, he really went down in his health.
mhm,
And he said while he was in the hospital room, he remembered that that olive oil emblem was on his dad's counter.
mm,
So even though his dad was passing, he went and got that olive oil, him and his family, and they were all believers. And they started anointing his dad
mm,
with the oil, not just for healing, but to also extend him back to the Father.
mm.
And that just gave me a whole new revelation just about the olive oil and just serving. Like, they
Oh,
served their dad
yeah.
knowing that he was going to pass away.
Mm.
And they put the olive oil on him as a last sentiment or a last gesture of our love for you. Like, it's okay for you to go and be with.
Wow. It gives me chills.
Oh, Jill, I mean, I was done for like two days.
I
You could
bet.
not.
That'll boost you right.
Oh my, and
Flying high, right?
yes. And it just really
Amazing.
made me realize, like,
Yeah.
God, this is why I'm doing this. This is my purpose.
Hmm.
It may not always look good, but it
Right.
is good. You know what I'm saying? Every story
Hmm.
doesn't have to be a great outcome, but it can still be a story of influence and a story of, compassion and
Hmm.
servitude.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, how did you come up with the name Emblem?
Yeah.
What's the story behind that?
No, just for all those things that emblem represents.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great
Purpose.
name. Hmm.
Yeah. So, abundance and
Mm,
health and wellness. So the olive oil is a emblem, is a representation of all those things.
yeah,
So yeah.
it's beautiful.
And that's on the back of the bottles too. So
Gives
people,
you the
yeah,
story, the
like,
reason, the
that is
name.
so broad,
That
but
is
really,
so good. Well,
yeah.
anything else you want to share today about just your journey into olive oil, where you are today, any of your challenges? I want to ask you also how women in olive oil can support you. What are what do you need?
Yeah, I mean, Jill, every day is every day, you never
Mhm,
know, but it's always you always want to get your name out more,
mhm, mhm,
So, I mean, that's probably what every business wants to do, I am marketing dollars not that big because I invest in other things. So,
mhm,
just trying to get my name out there more.
mhm,
I mean, these are some challenges. Right now I'm having to decide if because I just had a food distributor to reach out to me again,
mhm,
and I'm really trying to decide if I want to go back that way
mhm,
to the shelves. I don't know what stores, but I know they have a list of my product, and
mhm.
I'm just, these are just things that I have to think about.
Right, right.
And so I'm kind of weighing my options and trying to see what is best fit for emblem. And so those are some things, but really, I mean, women in olive oil, the connection,
Mhm,
the response in answering questions, not just
mhm,
for me, but I read the thread. I
mhm,
mean, I just feel like the value that I get from that group, not even if it's about emblem, but just the knowledge that I get there is good enough. So I
mhm,
think if women in olive oil, we can continue to communicate and
mhm.
have that open floor and be able to know what's going on, which you already doing. I think that's all I can ask for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's what makes our community so helpful and powerful, and is that, you know, that community where we can help each other, where we can ask questions, where we can give of ourselves, or lend a hand, or share a resource, or share, a retailer, or help with, whatever area it is.
Yes.
And that's what our strength is just, as women being open. There's plenty of room for all of us to work together. We don't, the
Yes.
competition doesn't need to,
Sorry.
no problem.
I put my phone on
No problem. This
silent,
is
but not my computer. You know how to do it. I'm sorry.
but just, being there for each other in the ups and the downs and the highs and the lows, and being vulnerable and saying, hey, I need help, or can you share some packaging, resources, or, I need some help, getting my items on the shelf, or would you taste my olive oil, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's made women in olive oil so special. And
Yes.
you have, brought in your beautiful energy, and you align so much with what I want the vision and the feel and the
Mm,
environment to be in women in olive oil. And
yeah.
that purpose, and in that we can even, bring in our faith and what that looks like, and
Yeah.
the diversity even in that, and
Yes.
loving and sharing, and knowing that in that, there's room for each of us.
Yes. Yes. You have done an amazing job from the very beginning. In 2020, I think, or 2019,
Mhm.
this was already started.
Yeah, we started in 2020, spring,
Yeah.
but I believe I talked to Chastity before that on the phone. I think
Probably.
I think we had a phone call, and you were doing I want to say you were doing some outreach in some of the public schools or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
That's how all of this got started.
Yeah. And that's what you're doing. And I can't, I don't, I want to say maybe Joe Probaci gave me your name, or I
Probably.
don't even remember, but I remember I was in the
Yeah.
car and I talked to you, and I was like, I
Yes.
want to meet this woman.
Yes, and we still have work to do, you know?
Yep.
Like I
Yep.
never thought that from school. I mean, I still want to
Mhm.
get it in the school system and it'll happen, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, that was the initial conversation and I do kind of recall that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited about like the work
Yeah.
that the United States is doing in olive oil research. And, in California, they're planting so many olive trees, and, there's a lot more emphasis on it. And we don't have the climate per se for how much olive oil we need to supply the United States. But it's exciting that, Americans are starting to get on board, and there's so
Yes,
much room and so much room for education. And,
it
it's kind
is.
of the sky's the limit. There's a
Right.
lot of work to do.
It really is. It really is. I hear that a
Mhm.
lot of the wineries or the
Yeah.
wine groves are people are walking away.
Yep.
Well, my
Mhm.
thought is why not have the government to come in and buy this
Mhm.
land
Mhm.
and we're able to put grow olive trees on the
Mhm.
land, you know?
And
So,
I think some are doing that as well. Or I
oh
mean, not the
good.
government, but I do know of some wineries that I've heard of
Oh
some
good.
wineries who are planting olive trees. And
Oh good.
yeah, yeah, I
See?
mean, we never know, but
Yeah, yeah, Jill, you in the know. You know everything.
well, I'm in the know because I'm connected with you and so many wonderful
Uh,
women in the industry. So, and like you, it excites me.
yeah, 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 yeah.
It is exciting to talk about. I
It
love the
really
women
is.
in olive oil. I love the men I've met, just so many
Yeah, yeah. I need
amazing
to work
people.
on pronouncing names. Like I'm,
Mhm.
from Georgia. I got that little Georgia twist to my. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even pronounce your name. So
I don't know, right? Well, I know that's part of the fun too, right? It's such a multicultural, beautiful product. So, and
yeah,
so much to learn still, right? And
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah. It
but
really
it's wonderful to have you today, and I'm
feel
excited to share this with our members. And
good.
I'll also be sharing your website and probably Let's Fight Back, and all that information as well. And I'm going to try to get that out shortly. So,
Okay.
okay. So
All
thank
right.
you, Chastity. I'm going to stop recording this call and we can jump off and say goodbye.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
again.
so
And thank you
much.
for being a part of Women
Of
in Olive Oil.
course. I'm glad
Okay.
to be here. Okay.
Okay.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Bye bye.